Amy here from the Minnesota Catholic Conference, here with Jason Atkins.
Welcome to this episode of Inside the Capitol. We're delighted to be with you this week. Maggie, you weren't with us last week because you were in Washington, D.C.
Yeah, I went out for the Catholic Social Ministry Gathering, which is put on by the USCCB and a variety of other partners. It was a great conference. There was people from Minnesota who were there representing, and we went to the conference first and then had Hill visits with 5 of our congressmen and women. So it was a great experience. Nice to learn more about the social concerns of the church and what they had to share about that. But
awesome.
I know back here there was stuff going on too. So Jason, tell us about who was here in Minnesota.
So it was a week of Catholic social teaching, and some of the work that we do around education. And it's not just a matter of advocating for concrete policies, but also talking about what the principles are. So we had a great partner come in from the organization called Cardis. They're a Canadian-based organization, but now have an office in Washington, D.C. And they are a Christian social Christian social thinking, Christian public philosophy. How do you build public policy around Christian principles? And so they're an ecumenical group from a Christian standpoint. They have Reformed and largely Catholic members up in Canada, but they're just bringing the Christian vision for good public policy. And it's awesome and was so encouraging and edifying to have their president, Brian Dykema, come from Canada, because what they do in Canada and their policy vision and our policy vision were so much in alignment. So we were working with legislators to have a conversation about labor and the dignity of work and the importance of labor unions. And how do we rethink, as legislators are thinking about, how do we support the working class? How do we promote family-friendly policies? What role do labor unions play in that conversation? So Brian and I met with legislators and had a roundtable with legislators about the principles that they should consider when enacting good economic policies and good labor policies. And again, family-friendly wages. We talk about things like the child tax credit, families first policies, but also the dignity of work and the importance of labor unions as well. So it was a great set of conversations, and just part of the work we do, that besides advocating for specific bills, making sure that good principles are in place from which to build.
Right, and if people want to learn more about that conversation, is there a way that they can do that?
Yeah, so we have another episode of Inside the Issue that will connect to this episode, and you can see the conversation between Brian and I about what those principles are and digging deeper into that question. So I hope you'll join us for that as well. Here at the Capitol, though, it was another busy week. There's now a 34-33 Democrat majority in the Senate. So the committee configurations and the power sharing agreement continues to go forward among Republicans and Democrats. We'll see how long that lasts, though, as the legislature continues to unfold and we get deeper into the debates and the need to craft a budget agreement as well. In the House, there's still on the other side of the equation, from the power sharing, there's a conflict. The House Democrats are still not showing up. Republicans are trying to coax them into showing up so they can start the business of the legislature. Obviously, those disagreements extend to when they do show up. What does the power sharing look like? Should there be power sharing at all? I think at this point, Republicans are saying they have a 67-66 plurality. The Democrats are saying, well, we think once that special election's going to happen, there's going to be a tie, but we'll see. The special election still hasn't been called yet. So the Republicans are going to this Minnesota Supreme Court yet again for the 3rd time now to say that the Secretary of State, Steve Simon, is a ceremonial officer and can't prevent them from instructing the sergeant at arms to drag in the Democrats so that they can begin the state's work, or the work of crafting the budget. Now, even so, one thing to consider is that many states, their legislative processes are only a couple months anyway. So the legislators can still get their work done, but time's short, and we're hoping that we don't go into special session. Especially us as lobbyists,
right?
Not interested in being here around the clock during the summer. So.
And they're supposed to adjourn towards the end of May. So we hope that day can stick.
Senators have been having hearings on the challenges that are faced by schools of all stripes, and this week there will be a hearing of non-public school leaders on Wednesday at 8:30 in the Senate Finance Committee. So a number of our Catholic school leaders will be testifying to share with elected officials the challenges and opportunities they've been facing, but also the successes. The NAEP scores, I'm forgetting the exact acronym right now. So they came out last week showing that Catholic schools are far outpacing their public school counterparts. We're also seeing really troubling data that 28% of 8th graders in Minnesota can read at grade level. So non-public schools are outpacing them. We have a lot of success stories, a lot of successes to tell and share with our elected officials, but also some challenges too, not least of which is the governor's proposed plan to cut non-public pupiling. So we have an action alert up, and we're contacting our legislators about that issue. Encourage our school leaders and those in our school communities and parishes connected to Catholic schools to reach out and build relationships with elected officials. This is why we do it, so that when these conflicts and disagreements arise, we can have constructive conversations.
Right, and Jason, can you just remind us, why should we care about the non-public pupil aid? What does that money go towards?
So the state makes a commitment that all students, irrespective of school choice, receive basic essential services. There's instructional aids like textbooks and standardized testing resources, nursing, guidance counseling, mental health counseling. There's another pool of funds that goes toward busing, and many of our non-public school students use public school busing routes to get to their Catholic schools. And so each is a pool that is blocked out for about $540 per student. So but you take advantage of all the busing and then all the instructional aids and resources, that's over $1,000 a student. If you figure you've got a Catholic school of 500 students, that's $500,000.
Right.
So it's a huge chunk in a school's budget that either the school will have to raise through fundraising or pass along in tuition, which could increase tuition costs and price people out of a Catholic education. So this really is a school choice issue, which is why we're encouraging people to stand up right now and oppose it. And then when the governor's budget, his revised budget proposal comes out in late February or early March, that cut is pulled. Very, very concerning and troubling that this would be on the table. When there had been tighter budgets and bigger deficits in years past, this was not even on the table. So very, very troubling, but we'll keep monitoring it and try to have constructive conversations connecting our elected officials with the people in their community.
Right, absolutely, and all of you can help in that effort by taking action and sending an action alert to your legislators on these issues, telling them why you care about your Catholic school or non-public school.
Last week, the gambling bill, well, there were a couple of gambling bills introduced, but Matt Klein's bill, Senate File SF 757, I believe is the number, was introduced last Thursday. It's going to show up first in the State and Local Government Committee. We are actively working with members on both sides of the aisle in both houses to advocate against that. But it's really troubling to see this bill moving forward. We're hoping that in a budget year, this does not get momentum, and that our conversations with members about why it's dangerous to put a sports book in everyone's cell phone is starting to get some traction. We have an action alert up on our website. You can take action, contact your legislators to ensure that dangerous bill doesn't move forward.
Yeah, that's great. And there's also an interview with Les, and we have a webinar coming up with Les Bernal, who was here talking with legislators and is going to be back to do a webinar about the issue and really talk about why we should care about the harms of sports betting. So you can watch for more information from our office on that.
That's February 18th.
Mm-hmm.
Great. So Les Bernal from Stop Predatory Gambling, one of our national partner organizations. That's going to be a really good conversation.
Yeah.
I'll basically interview Les and we'll discuss why you should care about that issue. And he's a real expert on the harms and what the gambling industry is doing. So don't miss that. That'll be great. And we've got Adoration this week.
Yeah, Adoration at the Capitol coming back this Friday from 9 till 4 in the Governor's Dining Room. So we hope that you will come join us. If you RSVP, we'll give you a parking permit right for our free parking lot at our building. It's right across the street from the Senate. And we can help get you over if you don't know where you're going, over to the Capitol to find that room, the Governor's Dining Room.
Great. Thanks so much for joining us on this edition of Inside the Capitol. We'll look forward to chatting with you next week and giving you the update about all the things that are going on here in St. Paul. God bless you. Thanks so much.
Thank you.